All right. Well, everyone, welcome. So glad you're here. My name is Elisa Muñoz, and I am on the board of ASAN. I am also with the Louisiana Food Policy Council, and I've been working in um, food and agriculture policy for over a decade. So I'm super excited for this session today. Just a couple things. If you have questions, feel free to or comments or hot takes, whatever you want. I love an active chat, so feel free to pop things in the chat. I'm also fine to raise your hand or interrupt with a question as they come up. Totally fine with me on that one. No pressure to keep your cameras on. I don't necessarily need to see what you don't want seen, if you will. And I know we're all here potentially eating lunch. Um, and if for some reason you accidentally come off mute, then one of us moderators will help you out by muting you again if there is background noise. Um, and I think that's all I've got. I really want to kind of facilitate like a conversation and share with you what I've learned in my over a decade of policy advocacy work. But I know we've got some other folks in the room who do policy advocacy work, and some of you all may have done some. So I welcome all experiences so we can share what's worked and what hasn't worked. All right. Oh, I gotta move this. Okay. This might seem, you may already know this, but what is food policy? Because agriculture, is in food. And this is like a really jargony definition, a set of collective decisions made by government at all levels, businesses, and organizations that affect how food gets from the farm to your table. A food policy can be as broad as federal regulation on food labeling or as local and specific as a zoning law that lets city dwellers raise honeybees. And so this can look like a bunch of different things, from how we grow our food to how it gets composted and how it's sold, and what you are allowed to buy at the grocery store or what you're allowed to sell to grocery stores. It encompasses all of that. And there is not one office, not anywhere. There's not one office, at least in Alabama and in most of the country, that regulates food. There is a variety of offices from the federal level all the way down to the city or municipal levels. And so that's where it can get a little complicated, is understanding which level these policies are coming from. Okay, so we're here to talk about policy advocacy. And we are in the food and agriculture system. So, what's the current political climate that we're talking about this in? Because we're doing nothing in a vacuum. At the federal level, we are looking at the quote unquote skinny farm bill. And it's called the skinny farm bill because this is getting a little too in the weeds, pun intended. But they sort of dealt with SNAP and the nutrition stuff in the budget reconciliation, one big, beautiful bill act that happened whenever that happened. And so this is dealing with everything that's left. So that's why they're calling it the skinny farm bill. A draft of it came out last week. They did the markups on it yesterday, and markup is just where they take the bill and everybody adds all the stuff to it and takes out what they want and gets their hands on it. Spoiler alert, it's not great. It's not great for small scale farmers. It takes out a lot of the programming and protections. We're also looking at the federal level at sustained cuts to SNAP. As you may know, there were massive SNAP cuts during the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that just went into effect. And folks were hoping that the Farm Bill would undo those cuts, and they have not, and likely will not. And we're looking at less funding for USDA programs, which includes grants, FSA offices, how they're staffed and funded, all the way down to less funding for extension agencies, that sort of thing. So just to kind of set the stage. I have this here because this is sort of the first time that I've seen this, that a lot of policies are being done via executive order. So what about those? Well, they're being challenged in the courts, basically. Like they stand for until they are challenged in the courts, and a great many of them are being challenged. So this is the first time in modern history that we've had a lot of legislation done via the court system. So things are moving through, and they are very slow. And Congress can act on them if they want to, which is both our chance and potentially our downfall, depending on how Congress is feeling. At the state level in Alabama, these are some of the things that are coming through the legislature right now. I'm not going to necessarily read them all, but I wanted you to have them so that you can refer to them. But there is a utility tax exemption that would exempt commercial greenhouses, pivot irrigation systems, which I don't totally know what that means, and poultry houses from the state utility gross receipts tax. Um, and an an act that was recently signed into law, I think last week, that prohibits the state from enacting environmental rules that are more stringent than the federal EPA rules, which is concerning because the EPA is lowering their standards. And then there is the Agricultural Enhancement Program, and that's a new proposal, and it's to create a cost share fund to help producers invest in business expansion and infrastructure. I don't know much about that one. I can learn about any of these if y'all have questions about them, or if anybody on the call happens to know more about them. That's some of the stuff at the state level. Then we also have the specialty crop block grant program, just so you guys know, because it is part of the state. They're mandated to do it. That is on March 26th. So you can apply for that. And then we have some feral swine management and off-road vehicle use. I basically scanned the state legislature's website, which I will show you later, to look for things related to agriculture to put here. So if I've missed anything, please let me know. Okay, great. So in order to advocate well, the first thing you have to know is who to advocate to. Because if you go to your city council member or your mayor and say, our FSA office is underfunded, they are going to say, I am so sorry. I cannot do anything about that. Because they are not the right person who overseeing that particular issue or policy. So at the federal level, again, there's no single federal food agency. Instead, there are 20 different departments and agencies that play some role in shaping our food system. Most of them are under the USDA. So that is often your first place to start, is to look, and that's the United States Department of Agriculture. And then the state, they have regulatory authority with food that travels interstate commerce. So basically, once it gets into the state, how it moves around the state and is sold in the state. So they maintain a lot of authority when it comes to regulating retail food stores, restaurants, that sort of thing, health inspections. And then local. I always say that local is where like all the really cool stuff starts and then it makes its way up and up. But this is where there's a lot of land uses at the local level, municipal like buildings and things like that. And this is where you can like try really cool stuff. You can be like, I want to try. I mean, this is where farmers market SNAP matching started at local levels, then went to state levels, now as part of the federal programming. Yeah. Any questions so far? Anybody have? Okay. Again, I can't see the chat, so someone will have to tell me.
Emma had
Yes.
said that Tennessee has an ag enhancement cost share program that she assumes would be similar
Oh,
to one you mentioned in the previous slide.
Emma, they already have it, or they have it on the books like in this legislative session?
think you're muted.
Well, I'll find out. We'll find out more about it. Um, so the biggest things that happen at the federal level are the Farm Bill, and that has the large omnibus. And what omnibus means is it's basically they just ram a bunch of policies together into one large policy. So it's like uh, it puts together like SNAP, crop insurance, um, grants and conservation, funding for the USDA, all in this one legislative body, if you will. And it governs what's grown, sold, eaten. It includes, like I said, SNAP, crop insurance, federal funding, farmer support, and the USDA funding is also in the Farm Bill. There's also the Child Nutrition Reauthorization Act. I bring that up because that includes farm to school, and there's a lot of stuff for local farmers in that. That unfortunately hasn't been reauthorized since 2010. So, every few years we're like, is the Child Nutrition Reauthorization Act going to happen? Probably not, but it's still out there. And then there are other federal programs. So there's, I have in here federal cuts. It should have said federal funding. But federal funding for your local offices, SNAP changes is all part of federal immigration and customs enforcement, those sorts of things. And if you're wondering who your member of Congress is, because that's at the federal level, I have that here. It's congress.gov. State, oh, this slide is so stressful, but I had to put it because there's so many agencies at the state level. I'm not going to read this because you can read it yourself, but there's a great many state agencies that govern food and agriculture. And knowing which one is really important so that you can, when you're making the call, you call the right person. So we'll send you these slides, but you can use this to understand who you need to call. And then we have these great resources for Alabama farmers that Kathleen made for us. And this slide helps you understand how to find out who is the state lawmaker for your region or your farm or whatever. So we have Alabama Votes. That's the official landing page for voting information. And I do not have the links to drop them. I should have done that. And then there are state district maps to identify the boundaries and help you understand where your farm or where your house is and who your representatives are. And this one also is interesting because it will show you there are different districts. There's House district, there's Senate district, there's federal districts, and it kind of shows you an overlay of all of these. So you can see all the different folks who govern where you are. Thank you, Alan, for dropping that in the chat. Okay, great. This might seem really tedious and boring, but I do think it's the most important part of advocating is knowing exactly who you should be advocating to so that you don't waste your time or, bark up the wrong tree, if you will. Okay, local, there's a whole bunch of different local agencies. It depends on if you're more rural, if you're in a city, which city you're in, all of those sorts of things. But here are the general ones. There's the city council. They act like the legislative branch. So they do taxes, policies, services, ordinances. Then there's the mayor's offices. Again, this is if you're in a like city. Budgets, department heads and offices, they operate kind of as the executive branch, so like the president, but for the city. Then some places have county commission, and that is both sort of the legislative and executive body. They do everything. Then there's the school board, which is a totally appreciated, or I don't know if it's underappreciated, but people don't think about the school board when it comes to food and agriculture. But they do the contracts for services for school lunches and school meals. And for farmers, this can be a great way to get a new wholesale market. And so reaching out to the school board to find out who does the ordering, who does the contracts, that sort of thing, so that maybe you can become a preferred vendor. Or if you are realizing that the uh, the procedure to become a vendor in the school system, like you have all the stuff they need, not all the stuff, but you have some stuff they need, and it would be great. But they're like, you have to do these millions of things. And it feels like maybe it's unjust, or that, there's another school district that does it in a way that's less cumbersome. Get in touch with your school board because they're the ones who would make those policy changes for that. Um, excuse me. And then there's the health department. And a lot of times they do emergency preparedness. WIC does have their WIC Farmers Market Nutrition Program and their vouchers to buy from farmers, medical testing, vaccines, community health, that sort of thing. Your health department may also be the one who inspects your facility in some way. And then we also have more of this great resources for Alabama farmers. So this helps you figure out who is sort of your local leaders in your area. So you can find them at your county election officials website. Um, there's also appointed offices for boards and commissions, so you can find that out at the Secretary of State website. Um, and sorry, I just got distracted because they started ringing the emergency notification system in my area. Um, yeah, so this is a really good slide that gives you information on how to find out who is in charge of what at the local level for you. Okay, now we get into the fun stuff, the actual advocacy stuff. So, what can you do now that we know all of that? How do we act on that? It's really just about making your voice heard. So, it's getting in touch with your policymaker and letting them know how you feel. Like we said, no one branch of government controls it all. But if they work together, they can get their wins. If all the branches work together, they get what they want. If we work together, we can get what we want. Similarly. Um, so, what do you say to them? How do you do it? I firmly believe that phone calls are best. Every office, not every office, at least at the federal level and the state level, they have to like record what you're saying. They have to take your phone call and they have to say like someone called for this reason. Um, they're very nice. They're never going to fight back, if you will. They are just going to say thank you very much. Email, social media also work. You could get a meeting in district, so go to their office. If it's at the federal level, they have district offices, so you could go to the district office. If it is a state or local, then they will also have offices near you. So get a meeting with them. Their job is to listen to you. Their job is to take what the people want and make policy around that. And the only way they're going to know what the people want is if we tell them. So that is your job to tell them how to do their job, if you will. And this is a big one. Invite them to your farm. If there is one thing I've learned in my decade plus of doing food policy, it's that policymakers love a farm visit. Oh my God. They love to hear from farmers. They love to go out to your farm, see what's going on, um, take a photo. They just love it. It makes them feel close to the people. Everybody has some fun story of their grandpa had a farm, their brother had a farm. They grew up shelling peas with their grandma on the back porch. And so invite them out to your farm. Um, and then you can participate in a lobby day for a like-minded organization. I have it a little further down, but there are organizations that have lobby days. Um, and that is where everybody goes to the Capitol. And they are all there to talk to policymakers about one specific thing. So, Alan, do you want to share a little bit about a lobby day you went to? Was it last week or the week before?
Sure. Yes. A few of us, a couple staff members, board member and an ASAN member, went down to Montgomery to participate in Alabama Arises legislative lobby day. It was my first experience doing that at this level. And then prior to that, Elisa, another board member and farmer, and myself went up to DC as part of National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition's winter meeting, which was a similar event. It was great. Both were great in that um, it started off with sort of what is the issue we're here to address, issue or issues, and then kind of like a little 101 on how to speak to your representatives, how to be concise and direct. And then we were released to go out into their offices and deliver those messages. So very easy, like Alyssa mentioned, it was you know, no one was rude. They were very welcoming, very accommodating. No one, ever says, uh, that sounds great. Yes, I'll do that. They give very non answers, as most politicians do. So, and in many cases, we were meeting with their staffers. We weren't meeting with them directly. However, Montgomery, it's very different. You meet with them directly because they don't really seem to have a staff. You literally just walk into their office. There's not even in many cases, not even a reception area. It's literally just if their door is open, you just walk in, which is kudos to them because I couldn't possibly imagine that to be my daily work life to have just random people walking into my office and asking me for things. So, but they're all very, very cordial, very nice. They're just people. I was nervous at first, but they're just people.
Thank you. Yeah, they're just people and um they don't know everything. It is impossible for them to know everything about everything. So they tend to know a little bit about a lot of things. But when we're getting into some of these things that are important to farmers in Alabama, a lot of it is in the nitty-gritty, if you will, and they just can't know that. And so they appreciate when you tell them what you need, because if not, how are they going to know about it? They can't, they can't read our minds. And they're not out there looking for what we need. They need us to come and tell them what we need. Thank you for sharing that, Alan. Okay, so how to talk to a policymaker. We already talked about know who to talk to about your issue, and then know what you're asking for. Be specific if possible. So just going to a policymaker and saying, my farm needs help and I need you to help me. Thank you very much. Is not enough. You need to tell them exactly what you need, um, you know, and if possible, tie it to a current policy that needs changing or a policy that you would like to see. So you could say, um, my farm is last summer started with tons of rain and ended with a drought. We did not have whole farm crop insurance because only 6% of farms in Alabama have whole crop farm insurance. And that was very challenging for us. Um, I would like for you to support um, making it easier for farmers to get whole farm crop insurance in the Farm Bill. That is a specific ask. You have told your story, how it is impactful to you. You've also included a fact in there, which you don't have to do. I just like to do that, but I'm a policy nerd. Um, and then you've told them, like, here's what I need from you. Um, because if you just go in there and give things in generic terms, that puts the onus on them to figure it out. And frankly, they don't have the time, or the they may just not do it. I don't know if it's because of time or because they don't want to. So going in there and being specific about this is what you are asking for. And I think why is it important for them to listen? So you can say, I'm in your district. My farm employs, I don't know, 5 people. You guys can tell I'm not a farmer. I don't know what I'm talking about, but my farm employs 5 people. We supply food at the farmers market. We're an important part of your community. we are struggling for these reasons. Here's the help we need. So then it is, what the issue is, why it's important to you, why it's important to them, and what you're asking for. Um, and if that feels like that's a lot that I just said, it all really comes down to telling your story. You you are going to a policymaker for a reason, most likely. You are not just going to them because you're like, let me just call a policymaker. I'm bored today. You have something that you're calling them for. So all you need to do is tell them what you need from them. Tell your story. Tell how you got to the point where you needed this policy, or where this policy is damaging you, if or your farm, if that's the case. You can say the cuts at the federal level have been really damaging because we were scheduled to have a hoop house come in, and that grant was canceled. And so we were unable to get that, which meant that all the planning we had done for the crops that would be in the hoop house, we were unable to do, which brought down our income, blah, blah, blah. That sort of thing. So again, you are the expert on your farm and your community, and you are just passing along your expertise to them so that they can um, pass policies that make sense. Does anybody have any questions? Or does anybody have has anybody done this before? Does anybody want to tell a story of um, talking to a policymaker? Good or bad?
Hi, let me get my video.
Yes, please. Oh, there you are. Go
Okay,
ahead.
there we are. So I had written a letter to Congressman Figures, who is ours for Crenshaw County, and talking about the bill about you had spoke of where we're setting the minimums in the federal level and not being able to do anything at the local level to do anything greater than that. So I had written that letter to Figures, and then AL.com, I sent a letter to the editor to AL.com, or actually I sent it to Montgomery Advertiser, and then AL.com picked it up. So I was reading my Apple News feed one day, and all of a sudden it popped up on the screen. And I thought those words look familiar, you know. So I was reading my own words on the news feed, and I didn't realize it at the beginning until I got to some key areas. And I thought, I looked over there, and there I was. I had never had anything like that happen before. So it just really jacked us both up of that we were able to, put that out there. I don't know how many people saw it, but we definitely said what we thought, should be done. And we've been to Washington a couple of times with Bread for the World, and mostly talking about GusNIP and the way it affects the small farmers here, and being associated with Auburn, we had several times that we had went and talked about that in Washington, D.C. And we got changed up. We went from Barry Moore as our representative to Figures whenever they did this last update. And so we're right in the edge of Figures, and so we have neighbors who are with Moore, and we have neighbors who are with Figures. So, we have some discussions.
That's fantastic. You guys should be doing this lesson, not me. Talking to the
I
press.
don't know about that.
Talking to the press is such a good idea. Because sometimes, things might get a little lost in a lawmaker's inbox or in their phone calls. But if you're saying it and if someone's calling them for a statement, well, that's a whole different story. They certainly don't want to be caught unaware of something. And so that's fantastic. Well done, you. Um, Okay, so I just have like some call scripts, and I put MOC as member of Congress because I am deep in Farm Bill in my brain, and so that's what this is for Farm Bill, but you can certainly change it. But it's super easy. In fact, you can write it down ahead of time and just read it. They don't know that you're reading something on, a piece of paper. Uh, so just write it down, practice it, and read it. You don't have to come up with it, but it's easy as, hi there, my name is Alyssa. I'm a constituent um, of, whomever in zip code, whatever. And I'm calling to ask them to support small scale farmers like myself, even though that's not true, in the Farm Bill. And I'm unable to feel confident in my business because I cannot access adequate crop insurance like many other farmers in my community. Please ensure whole crop farm insurance is in any current or future Farm Bill. That's it. You just say that to them, and they will say, thank you very much. We've taken that down. We appreciate your call. And you hang up. You're done. And it is recorded. They have to, I don't know if they literally write it down, but they have to record when people call and basically what the gist of their call is. Or, I have another one here. Hello, my name is Alyssa and I'm a constituent. I'm calling to let you know that my farm depends on funding from the USDA to help increase our yields and income. This hoop house, this important hoop house has been essential for our farm, and I ask that you protect this funding. Thank you. Super simple. Who I am, that I'm their constituent, a little bit about my fake farm, and what I'm asking for. And again, the first few times you call, I encourage you to write it down ahead of time and just read it. They don't have to know that. It's no big deal. In fact, even when I go and lobby or advocate in person, I have a script in a notebook that I will refer back to, so that I'm not just trying to wing it every time. Okay, so let's practice. I'm not going to split us into small groups because we are a small group. But whole farm crop insurance. Is it whole farm crop insurance? What is that? Can you expound more on that question?
I had always thought that it was whole farm crop insurance and not whole crop farm insurance.
Oh, I'm sure I just wrote it wrong in this
Yeah,
script.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not a farmer. And so I am unsurprised that I messed it
right.
up in this thing, and I apologize that I
I
did not
get it.
catch
I
that.
get it. No
But
problem.
yes, it is whole farm crop insurance, not whole crop farm insurance. Right? Yes. This is when my farmer advocate, not an actual farmer, comes shining through. Okay, so we're going to practice as a group. So somebody give me an issue that you or a farmer is having. I'll just wait. Somebody's got to be having an issue.
I would say labor, but it's hard to deal with that at this level.
Okay, tell me what you mean by labor. Let's do it. Let's troubleshoot it.
It's just hard to find someone to work for any price as far as that goes, you know. And
Okay.
even if you you know have a, a can't always have a steady job, you know what I mean? So it's hard to
hmm
find someone who can step in for a month or two or several hours a week or something like that. And it's just hard to find somebody to do that.
Hmm. Okay, so let's think about that. What would be an ask around labor? What could it be to have and again, I'm just thinking out loud here. But could it be increased funding for schools and universities to have farmer training programs that could have apprentices that come out to farms?
Now
Is
that might be something there where you had a program where, you know, you actually had someone from maybe like a co-op for the college could come out and work on the farm at, you know, for a certain amount of time, you know, while they're in school, you know, but then you have to be near the school as well.
right. Okay, well, that's one. There could be, I know that there's immigrant labor laws that have been problematic of late. Um, let's stick with the college student one because That's one I can wrap my head around. Okay, so if we want that to be funded, that would likely be, there's a few ways it could go. You could call the school and ask if they have a program for that, and they're probably going to say, we don't have funding for that. So it would either be the state who gives some funding, for universities and schools, or it would be the USDA, as part of their maybe extension or their funding for, they fund universities and, like ag schools. So I would say we would need to call the USDA or call a senator about USDA increased funding for universities to have on-farm training for students.
How about this? I was
Mhm.
just running in my mind there.
Uh-huh.
I know that there's lots of FFA
Uh-huh.
people, that have are high schools, and it might be even where you might could even go down a little bit further, onto the local level with, like you were talking about, the school board or whatever, being able to have a high schooler co-op maybe put in a few hours a day or something like that, kind of like a work and go to school as well.
Mm-hmm. Um, so I just did a quick Google search because one of the most important things with policy is figuring out what you're asking for and to whom. FFA is funded and, operates through their own foundation. So that would be not necessarily a policy, or that would be like a little p policy, where it would be like through a, independent organization. Um, so if we stick with like extension or universities, then it would be at the USDA. And so what would we say to them? Can somebody give me a quick something of what we would say? Or tell me what we need to figure out what we would say.
Well, this is a little bit of a different idea, so sorry about
Okay.
that. But I was thinking, and this wouldn't necessarily solve the problem, but what if we called USDA and asked if they could start subsidizing farmers to pay workers uh, higher wages in the hopes that that would attract more workers if farmers had extra money to pay people?
I agree. Um, let's troubleshoot that. Or I agree that would be an amazing thing. I think that that would be really hard to pitch right now to the USDA. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm just thinking, that that would be a tricky ask, but I think we could do it. I think we could potentially just ask for increased funding for, um, well, okay. Now I'm like, uh,
Yay, they do have the NIFA AFRI
that's what I was,
they have the education and workforce development funding.
that's exactly what I was just thinking. I was trying to figure out what it was called. So we could ask for increased funding for that. That would include having on-farm apprenticeships. Um, and I don't know if that already has on-farm apprenticeships. Um, that could be where you could place students with farms in the region. And that is just asking them to change something that they're already doing, which they love that because that's not a totally new program. Um, so who are we? We're calling NEFA, which is the National, I can't not remember what NEFA stands for. I'll look it up.
The Institute
Uh,
of Food and Ag.
Thank you. Thank you. I was like, I couldn't get the I, Institute of Food and Ag, and that is under the USDA. So we are calling, someone at NEFA, um, or no. We are calling our House of Representatives member because the Farm Bill is in the House of Representatives right now, and we are saying, hi, I am a farmer in Alabama. who is in your region, I am having such a hard time getting workers out on my farm and keeping workers out on my farm, which is causing me to be able to grow less and make less, which means that there's less local food available in the community. There is a current program through NEFA at the USDA, that is the Agriculture, Food Research Initiative, Education, Workforce Development. I don't think I said that right, but we'll get the name right. And I would love if that program could be expanded to include having apprentices on farms in the region. Please let me know how I can help you understand more about my needs and draft that legislation. Thank you. Did we do it?
That might work pretty good, I think.
I think we did it.
Really?
So that's your script. And you saw how, okay, we figured out what the issue was. And then we thought, okay, well, we can't just say, I need more workers. We have to tie it to something. So then we thought, what are we going to tie it to that is something that we know would work in this current legislative climate? What are the facts we need? So we quickly Googled, what's that program? How do I find out about it? And then, where is the House or the Farm Bill right now? It's in the House, so we need to call our House member. And then what do I need to say? And then your follow-up, and your follow-up is super, super important. Thanks, Kathleen. Your follow-up is important. What you do after that is you email them and you say, I called about this. Here's some more details. Here's that program I mentioned, and you put a link to the NEFA program. Here are the ways that I think that could work. And that's where you put the details of what you're asking for is in your email. And when you call them, you can say, I'd love to follow up via email. What is the email address that is best to send that to? And they will give you someone's name or an email address. There's also a nifty sort of like what I call email equation where all House members, their staff has the same email. I don't have it on me, but I'll get it in a second and put it in the chat and I'll send it. So if you know the person's name, you can like extrapolate their email address through this like formula. It's like first name dot last name at housemember.gov maybe. I'll include it in the notes. So that was like a quick and dirty sort of, we did power mapping, we did quick research, and we wrote a script. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Not necessarily a question, just a comment.
Sure.
I know, when we were kind of bringing up this issue to walk through as an example, I do know that, not through FFA necessarily, but that some counties do have technical programs at their high schools that are ag related. And so there could, be a local avenue to go through as well, like through school board, if that feels like more approachable to folks. And the high school does like kind of a co-op situation in which they pay students to like work on the farm. So I don't know if that would work for like a for-profit business, like a different farm, but I know in Tuscaloosa County has a farm that they work through, but it's like owned by the county school system. So it might be different in a regulatory way, but I could see like the policy being like forming some sort of partnership where that could work, that the student would go out to like a for-profit farm business in the county or something like that.
I love that. And that's where understanding your particular local like policy ecosystem is really important. So understanding if your county has a program like that, understanding who you would call about that, that's where all of that is really, really important. And I lost my train. One thing is jobs and job creation is super important to policymakers. So if you say, I have a lack of labor, because of that, I am making less money. That will always get policymakers' attention. Just mentioning jobs in any way, shape, or form, especially if you mention farm jobs or agriculture jobs. Oh, Lord, those are like major keywords for policymakers. They love that. So, mentioning that, I'm having a trouble getting workers. I have jobs that are unfilled. That's like a great thing to always remember to sort of mention. Okay, here's some more resources for Alabama farmers. Vote 411 is a good way to find and share voter information. Um, Coosa River Keeper, excuse me. They have this great mapping effort that has GIS layers for the watershed, which some people think of agricultural regions with water through watersheds, overlaid with all the municipal boundaries, so you can see where you are within that. This is a ton of information, but it will be in the slides, which you will be able to have. It's also all available on ASAN's website, but just to show you that there's lots of resources out there to help you figure out who to talk to about different policies, and some like-minded organizations who are doing similar work. Okay, what's next? Right on time. ASAN has a policy committee, and we are working on things at the federal and state level for farmers in ASAN's network. So if you'd like to join the policy committee, we are looking for new members of that committee. As it is right now, we meet once a month. We are still trying to figure out what is this committee going to look like? How are we going to do our work? How often are we going to meet? Those sorts of things. So if you're interested, email me or Alan about that, because we are trying to understand what are the pressing ag policy issues in Alabama and what can we do about it, and how, like we said, how can we all work on it together? And then thank you, Alan. The last thing I wanted to say, oh, geez, that thing moved. This is not the last thing I want to say, but here are some of the like current actions at the federal level that a lot of different ag organizations are working on. So just wanted to put that here so you could see. But the last thing I wanted to say is that if policy has felt challenging to you, if it's felt opaque to you, if you have been like, this is too confusing, I don't understand what's happening, who's in charge of what, that is on purpose. It is by design. They do not want you involved. They have made it this way so that it is confusing, so that they can just do what they want. And so my job, our job, is to help wade through that and navigate through it, so that we can make sure that the needs of the farmers in our network, and us and our families and all that, our farmers are hearing it. Because they are hearing a lot from the big ag and big food people. They have tons of money. They are flying to DC all the time. We do not. So we need to make sure that they are hearing about what we need, and what will make Alabama better for everyone. So if you have any questions about how to advocate, what to do, what to say, I'm happy to make a script with you. I love doing that. Happy to talk more, happy to get into the nitty-gritty of a policy. Please reach out. And Alan can connect us, or my work email is down on all the slides. And let us know if you want to join the ASAN Policy Committee. And we have a few minutes left if anybody has any questions. It was so clear. Nobody has questions. I'm so proud of myself. Or I shoved so much information at you that there's no way you could come up with a question at this point.
I think it was a great session.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I hope it was helpful. And I think we might try to do another one on something else. We're going to do these, I think we said every couple of months or something. And so if there is a follow-up session that you think would be really helpful, please let us know. Is it understanding the farm bill? Because that is chaotic. Is it more like role playing on asking for different policies? We could even do some power mapping where you like say, this is what I need, and we figure out what's the best person to get to. Telling your storytelling, there's, what is it that you need to know to feel confident advocating for yourself? Let us help you with that. Focuses on nonprofit farms. Oh, I got you for that. We could probably do one on advocacy